welcome to Fundamentals for Startups. My name is Yuli, and I'm the CoMotion Lab's Life Science Manager. For those of you that are new to us, CoMotion Labs provides a multi-industry lab system, hosting startups inside and outside the UW community in life sciences, biotech, robotics and hardware, software, IT, and fintech. Our startups range from pre-seed to Series A, employing 2 to 15 people each, and are variously headed by students, faculty, and community leaders, with both new and seasoned entrepreneurs represented. While we wait for everyone to log on, I'll make a few announcements. Next week, we have Jillian Mussig, General Manager of the Masters Fund, presenting the capitalization stack, getting the right funding in place for growth. As a reminder, all of our Fundamentals for Startup presentations are archived on our CoMotion website under the Lab Startup training videos. We've covered a variety of topics over the past several years, so if you find yourself with some free time, which I think we all have an abundance of right now, please check out our past talks. For our full schedule and to register for future Fundamentals, you can visit our events page. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the little bell so you can get notified for future live streams. Finally, Fundamentals for Startups is funded in part by a grant from the Economic Development Agency. We'll be dropping a link into the chat for a short survey. Please tell us who you are, where you're watching, and how you heard about this event. This report helps us a long way and continues for our quest for funding. This year, we are proud to partner with Bluetooth to support the Fundamentals for Startups program. See how Bluetooth audio sharing is poised to once again change the way you will experience audio and connect with the world around you.
Bluetooth introduced the world to wireless audio. Calling, listening, watching, making us safer, more productive, more joyful. It's part of the fabric of our lives. Now, Bluetooth will bring us even closer to each other and our world with audio sharing. It will let us share with others our music, our experiences, listening and watching together. The places we go will share with us, enriching our experiences, helping us hear our world. Breaking down barriers between interests, cultures, generations. Introducing Bluetooth audio sharing. Closer together.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. We're trying to work on it. Hopefully this fixes it. Today, I'm very excited to have Dr. Leen Kawas join us. Leen is here to present The Long Run, Creating a Life Science Startup. Leen has served as Athira Pharma's CEO and as a member of the board of directors since January 2014. Previously, Leen served as Athira's vice president. She serves on multiple boards, including the Washington Governor's Life Science Advisory Board, Scientific Review Board for the Alzheimer's Drug Discovery Foundation, and Alzheimer's Association Washington Chapter Board. She also served as the co-chair of the International Alzheimer's Association Business Consortium. Leen earned a Ph.D. in molecular pharmacology from Washington State University in 2011 and a pharmacy degree from the University of Jordan in 2008. Recently, Leen was named Life Sciences Executive of the Year by the Puget Sound Business Journal and was just featured in Encyclopaedia Britannica's list of 20 under 40 young shapers of the future in health and medicine. We will take questions via chat. Feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation, and I will now turn over the event to Leen.
Thank you, Uli, for inviting me to Fundamentals of Startup. I'm happy to share Athira's story and the journey that it took us as a team to get to this point. Before we start, we will be talking about Athira as a company, where we're at, just to give an idea for the audience about what took to get to this point. So I think Athira Pharma is a company that is focused on developing innovative therapies that aims to recover neuronal health, recover damage in brain cells and neurons in the periphery, to restore function and help address huge unmet medical needs. We are very motivated and we are mission driven at Athira to help people who have been impacted by these devastating indications like Alzheimer's disease and others. Our most advanced program, ATH-1017, it's very exciting for us. Last year in 2022, we started 2 trials. The LEFT-AD trial, which is a potentially pivotal trial. And from drug development point of view, reaching to this late stage of clinical development is really exciting and a big achievement for our team. We also have in parallel a smaller trial, the ACT-AD trial, that we initiated in November 2020. The ACT-AD is a special trial for me. In addition to supporting the development of our investigational drug, it also has some innovative components that could help Alzheimer's drug development and dementia drug development in general. Currently, before we entered these late stage clinical trials, we have completed a phase 1A and B, including patients trials, where we've seen exciting data and encouraging data and a significant improvement in an objective measure of cognitive processing. This is very innovative, and we've been thinking outside of the box at Athira, and this really created a lot of excitement around our work. The other unique thing about our approach in Athira is, if you're familiar with Alzheimer's drug development, the last 15 to 16 years, there has been a lot of focus to slow down the disease. But what we're focused on at Athira, in addition to slowing down the disease, we are targeting, or we believe our approach will lead to improvements in the outcome of the disease, which is something that is really important for people who are impacted by Alzheimer's disease. We're not only focused on Alzheimer's, we have also expanded the indications. And of course, at earlier stages of company startup, you need to have a level of focus. And we did have our focus, our lead compound and Alzheimer's as an indication. But now, as the company is maturing and growing, we have expanded our indications to include multiple CNS degenerative indications, peripheral disorders, and as well as neuropsychiatric indications. We are also advancing a program that could address depression and other neuropsychiatric indications. I think most of the people who are on this portal are more interested in learning how did we get to this point, and some history about the journey of being an entrepreneur and the journey of our team to get to this point. As Uli highlighted, I was the VP and a co-founder in 2011 of Athira, previously known as M3 Bio. We licensed out a technology with over 15 years of R&D, but really internally, when you're taking a technology out from an academic institute, it's probably a great idea that needs to be optimized to make it into a product. And for me, my background, I was a pharmacist. I worked for a very short period as a pharmacist. I wanted something more exciting. I went into research and then very quickly realized that to really translate exciting research from an academic setup, you need that commercial vehicle and you need that business vehicle to help you create products that ultimately can help a lot of people. So taking that technology out, we've spent a lot of work and years basically in optimizing the technology to getting to 1017, which was identified in 2015 and very new IP. So we enhanced the IP and the technology that we took out. We've also built pipeline around it. We have additional compounds, 1019 and 1020. So we have multiple compounds right now from an idea that originated from an academic environment. Very rare that you get an idea or license out a technology from academia that it's ready for commercialization. Of course, during these years, we had to be innovative. I didn't have any background in business or legal or finance, and I was a good pharmacist, I thought, and I had a Ph.D., so I guess I was a good scientist as well. But I really need to acquire a lot of skills outside of the technical skills. Drug development is really an effort that requires a lot of knowledge in different areas. Legal, business, regulatory, it's a highly controlled industry. And just appreciating the regulatory environment and the controls around drug development is very important. And there are a lot of ways that you could get exposed to these aspects, finance and raising money. So when I became the CEO, it's 2014 when the co-founders, we became more serious around financing and what we want to achieve. That first year, I spent a lot of time networking. So if you're not networking, you should be networking. Even with COVID, there's a lot of ways that you could network. You being here, if you're an entrepreneur that is thinking about starting a company, is a really good way to engage with people. LinkedIn is a really good way to engage and connect with people. So networking is really important. I had the luxury to do it in person, go to conferences, meet with people, email them, emails are still a very viable way, and was able to connect with a group of advisors at very early stage. You need people with experience, especially if you're a first-time entrepreneur, a group of advisors that you trust and you believe they could support you in the different areas that you need help with before you even raise money, in the way of raising money, because they could provide you with the support and the infrastructure. And, one of the names that I would mention that is probably a lot of people at UW are familiar with his name. Stewart has been a really amazing advisor. That really was one of the first people that supported the company. And I remember we set up a weekly meeting at Fluke Hall, which was also the incubator that supported Athira early on. They took us in very early on. I remember pitching to the group at CoMotion, and it was amazing that they gave us the first cubicle, and they gave us the lab space that helped us advance the technology. And it's just thinking outside of the box. Nobody who took a technology from Washington State University will think to go and pitch to UW, but they actually really endorse entrepreneurs, endorse great ideas. And I would say CoMotion were really important. And these type of vehicles are really critical in helping entrepreneurs get to the next stage. Financing, you have to talk to a lot of investors. You have to, 2014, 2015, were years where we needed seed funding. I talked to, in those 2 years, I talked to over 700 people, and we were able to secure the seed funding. I went through non-traditional ways. There is no one. Building a company, there's different ways of doing it, and you just have to find your path and find your support group, whether they're investors and advisors. And we were lucky of finding a group of investors. Mr. Fluke, John Fluke, is he's actually our first investor in the company. And was very also extreme support. He still served on our board of directors. But Seattle is if you're in Seattle or Washington, it's a great place to grow a business and find people who endorse entrepreneurs and talent. And we were able to raise seed funding, and having the ability to stay in CoMotion really enabled us to develop our technology effectively and efficiently in a very resourceful way. we built the team organically. I'm very lucky. I think Oli knows most of our team, that we have an amazing team that is super focused on the mission. And at early stages of company development, you need experience, but I think what's even more important is building that team that believes in the mission and is willing to change their lifestyle to help support the mission. From these very early days up to 2022, we went public last year, which is amazing. We raised last year over 300 million, and this year we raised another close to 100 million to really support the development of our programs. We started, as I highlighted, 2 trials. And I want to highlight the ACT-AD because it's a very special trial for us. And actually, University of Washington Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, one of the PIs, Charlie Burnick, is there. So this partnership and support continues from the academic institutes locally. They're running in multiple, both trials are running internationally in the US in different states, and the ACT-AD also has sites in Seattle. We decided in 2016, I think, to change the company name from M3 Bio to Athira. And the idea behind changing the name really came from, we wanted a name that represents the team, represents our mission and our ultimate goal, and what we want our technology to ultimately do. Athira is derived from the word Athir, which really is the energy or sound that reaches everyone, which we really hope that our technology will have that reach to positively impact everyone. Again, I'm just going to stop here on the ACT-AD trial. We're evaluating this, our innovative approach, where we're expecting improvement and regeneration to have significant potential improvement in mild to moderate Alzheimer's subjects. I'm going to stop here on this slide, just for you guys, if anyone wants to capture any information around the ongoing trial. But one thing I wanted to highlight, if I'm going to emphasize the key aspects of why Athira was able to come from a startup that was struggling at some point to a company that is established and have a great team. One is, you have to believe in what you're doing, never give up. You're not going to get yeses. You're going to get a lot of no's at the beginning, and that's normal. That's every entrepreneur. Very few entrepreneurs get yeses immediately. You're going to get a lot of no's, but take advantage of when you're meeting with an investor, when you're meeting with an advisor. If they're not agreeing with you, there is a different point of view that you could take advantage of and build on your opinion and your experience, and which will help you improve the outcome. So appreciate people's time, even when they are not getting on board immediately. If they see that you are receptive to feedback, receptive to different point of view, you don't have to take everything any advice that every person gives to you, but use your innovation and try to combine it with different experiences to bring forward the best decision for you and for your company. The second aspect is building a really supportive advisory board that could compensate before you even raise money, that could compensate for potentially a lack of team members by giving you support and give you a lot of experience. But if you're going to get advisors, make sure that you're respecting their time and you're accountable for any action items or topics that you guys discussed with. The third point, I will say networking. COVID is hard to network, but there are ways that you could find. A lot of the conferences moved into virtual reality. If there's a will, there's a way. So networking and making industry connections are critical for you. The other aspect is funding can come in different ways. VCs, venture capitalists are one way that if you're able to get funding from VCs, great. But you can go to angels, you could get to foundations, the NIH can give funding. You just have to be creative, especially at the very early stages of financing, creative in the way that you approach financing. And the most important piece that will lead to the continuation of the success is the team. So hire thoughtfully, make sure that you need talent, you need experience, but at the same time, make sure that you're bringing on board people that believe in the same dream that you believe in, and they will work as hard as you do. I have people, I remember one interview, one person asked me, how about life-work balance at Athira? And I said, it's a change in the lifestyle. You cannot have that idea and saying, I want to maintain a work-life balance when you're joining a company that is growing rapidly and we're trying to change the world. You're changing your lifestyle. So make sure that you're bringing on board people who are willing to change their lifestyle and have this exciting adventure with you. And of course, the technology, that ultimately it's what you're working on and what you believe. And areas that you are not interested in learning, or you know that they are areas where you need help with, should be the first areas that you try to bring talent on your team to support you. Yeah, it's been an amazing year. A lot of people help Washington State University. UW has been amazing. And we've been super lucky to be in CoMotion, to have that central place, to have access to talent, to the campus, to U Village, to Uli and the team at CoMotion. And yeah, it's been a very exciting ride. And thank you guys for listening in.
Great. We'll take questions. If you have any, again, sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning of this. Leen, I think we can get started. I think this is a pretty common question in the past, 10, 12 months. How did your team manage around COVID at the very beginning? I think this is a very interesting question for your team in particular.
Yeah, of course. I have to just give a shout out to our team that we went public. We raised over 300 million, and we started 2 large trials last year with a pandemic, right? And how did we do it? Honestly, Uli, I remember we were in a conference in Boston, and there were cases. So when I was flying back from that conference, I was like, I should not go into the incubator, and probably until we understand more, everyone should work from home, and we should focus on, if this is going to be a longer term challenge, how can we adapt with this new environment? I don't know, for some reason, that was my thought flying back. And I think part of entrepreneurship and founders, somehow you build this ability to predict things. So we decided to work from home, everyone, even the lab people that had to work from the lab, from home for a couple of weeks until we figure out processes that will enable us to continue to work safely. The other thing is our work, as you probably know, clinical trials, the patient population we're working with are the higher risk population, older Alzheimer's population, drug supply chain, how do we deliver, moving the product from one place to another was another thing. Manufacturing, our manufacturer, also we had to be very proactive and talk to them. What are your plans? And to be prioritized, right? The squeaky wheel gets the most attention. So we were on the phone with them and making sure that, and although they were not alarmed, we were very alarmed. So I guess we wanted reassurance from them early on, and they stepped up. So it's just taking these 2 weeks for us to think about what could happen as an outcome helped us significantly operationally. And I think the team also appreciated the flexibility that they were able to adjust to work from home. Before even the kids, there's the challenge of children moving back or remote learning. And those 2 weeks were significant for us to personally organize our life, but at the same time, figure out the areas that we need to focus on operationally. And thirdly, probably, as you know, Oli, we were raising money. We were doing our Series B in the midst of all of this. And there was, and even at that point, we just said, we need to give investors time, because there was a market change at that point, significant market that everyone got spooked. We stayed engaged with key investors, key groups, but we were successful in closing our Series B 85. It's just like being patient and observant and have some ability to predict that this could be bigger than what people expect. Yeah, well, I think it's the team pulling together. Plus, I want to say we are we're trying to be green, so not printing, nothing. So we were already virtual. We were already on the cloud. We had, we were using Zoom even before COVID happened. So being that company that had the infrastructure technologically, we haven't missed a beat, even having people moving to their homes and working from home. It's also being prepared technologically that helped us have that continuity in our work.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting. I think you and your team were really on it, took it very seriously, even before, cases like started appearing in Washington State. So all the credit and kudos to you for that foresight. And, I think at that time too, when we were about to reopen our lab space for scientists and researchers, like there was very little resources available. And you actually gave me a good chunk of information I needed to restart our lab space. So, that really helped, 15 biotech startups by allowing them to acquire more, get more information and do their research in space. So yeah, that was a great time. Let's see. Question from Carol in the chat. As a CEO, how's your leadership style evolved as Athira has grown from a startup to a public company?
There are core values that don't change, and that because these the core values that are the secret sauce for each entrepreneur, and they're different for each person. The focus, the perseverance, clarity in communications, those are core core characteristics and values that will not change with the different stages of being the CEO. Of course, very early on, you're very hands-on. You touch everything. And as the company grows, this is something entrepreneurs need to work on. And having the awareness, I keep telling the team, I'm switching from hands-on to obsessiveness in the details. But giving you freedom to being hands-off. It's moving from super operational to, as you grow as a CEO, you become more strategic. And because also the team grows with you. It's the type of teams and even the founding team will mature in the same way. So as a founder, you have to expect that you're going to do everything, including taking out the trash. And as you grow, you still have to know the details because you need to communicate effectively to your team members, but you create that confidence within the team that things move organically within an organization. Of course, the knowledge and the areas I have to focus on changed over the time. Early on, it was more technical, I would say 70% was more science and operation. Now it's more finance and people and investors. I would say there's more of a balance between these different areas.
Another question from Carol. Pitching investors is hard. How did you learn to do it well? And you raised money during COVID. How did you do that?
By trial and error. So you talk, if I look back at the first business plan that I had, it's very different than now. right? And it's okay. It's okay. That's why the type of investors that you meet originally, that there are different type of investors. There's the angels. They're angels because they're forgiving, right? They look more at the raw talent. And at the beginning, when you don't have anything, right? But at the beginning, I didn't have anything. And what I realized throughout the years, and as I built friendships with a lot of my investors, is people invest in you. Like they might be excited about technology and the potential in the technology, but it's you, like you being genuine, building these connections, and being open to feedback and criticism, and acknowledging when you do great things. All of these, I think, create this trust with investors. But your pitching style change the same way that you grow as a person. When the topics that you talk at the beginning are very different. When we're talking to investors right now, we're talking commercialization, we're talking product, clinical trials, finance, runways. At the beginning, you're talking about the dream, you're selling the dream, and it becomes more structured as the company grows. I would recommend, I think the passion at the very early stages is very important. Believing in what you do, working hard, perseverance. You're going to get a lot of no's. That was not easy. But the no's will help you to get to that yes. So take feedback. Stop at the no. Why? Can you help me why you said no? Like, I appreciate that. I don't want to change your mind. I completely respect that. It will be helpful for me. And people actually are willing to do that. And sometimes when you ask for advice, you find people invest. I mean, John Fluke, I never asked him to invest. I just told him, you have a lot of business experience. And suddenly he's like, when are you going to ask me to invest? I'm like, now, I guess. And he invested. So it's just building relations at the beginning.
Great. IP, question from Mark. IP can be so important to life sciences startups. Is this true for you? And if so, how do you balance investment in R&D versus IP expenditures?
IP is very important, and I really like this question because it's a struggle when you are an early stage company. IP can be very expensive. You have to be strategic. You don't have to go to the most expensive lawyers. There are really good small boutique groups that could help you. Believe it or not, there are really good lawyers out there that would also, the same way that you're pitching to investors, that they could help at the beginning with more efficient strategies of how you can protect your IP. We're working with a couple of groups, happy, Uli, to follow up with some names if people are interested as well, with groups that could help with efficient IP protection. For us, IP is core. If we didn't have good IP protection, we would have not been able to get all of the traction that we got. But also, I had to make tough decisions early on. You're optimizing basically how much IP protection I want to have, what is important for the operational aspects. Is it more important for us to get to that milestone, or for me to protect an IP and spend all the money on the IP and not get anywhere? Right? Some people get too obsessed with IP. It's going to happen organically, but there needs to be a focus on IP. I tell our discovery group, you are the heartbeat of the company, and IP is one of the most important thing. But spending, and you have to be strategic early on. You have to think about what's the most important and spend on this, and then the luxury. As you raise more money, you become very strategic, and you can expand your coverage. I wouldn't do like worldwide coverage when I'm a small company that I have $600,000 in my bank account. I would do major markets. There also IP provisionals there are a lot of ways that you could do it inexpensively with provisionals and have them lapse and extend the timeline. You just need a good lawyer that is not just looking for you to pay them hourly, that could like genuinely give you good advice.
Great. Question from Brady. What advantages or disadvantages are there around founding a company in Seattle?
Disadvantage is the rain. No, I'm kidding. It's a great city. I mean, I'm not from Seattle. Now I am a Seattleite, but I do, it's home, right? Wherever I go, even when I'm at a sunny place, I still miss Seattle. I miss the air. I miss the people of Seattle. It's a great place to start a company because of the people. But you have to put an effort. It's not easy. You have to talk to a lot of people and truly make a genuine effort with connecting with people. I don't think I would have had the success I have today if it wasn't for Seattle and the people of Seattle. It's that, and not necessarily the talent that we're hiring from. It's just you, Uli, Elizabeth's talent before you, people that they don't think that they have a big impact on entrepreneurs and companies, but the availability of support is amazing. But then some people will say, well, that's not funding. I do agree that funding is really hard. To survive, you need capital. I did early on, and I'm very sad that this vehicle is no longer available for Washington entrepreneurs. We did get grants from Life Science Discovery Fund, which we paid back there. I'm so excited they also got returns from a company they invested in. So the state got returns. And I hope that triggers them to create these vehicles for investing in entrepreneurs. That was available then. Now it changed into a different format. I'm not very familiar, but that was like a very broad fund that invests in technologies and entrepreneurs. The other thing is the institutes in Washington, basically, that University of Washington, Washington State. There are good institutes that you could find a lot of collaborators in them. Disadvantages, space. It's very hard to find space. We were lucky again. I mean, I don't know luck. I did go and talk and go outside of the box and ask. It's just being creative on how to find space that could support you at the different stages. There's not a lot of available space. We are moving Athira to Bothell at this point. We do have our second offices in Bothell just to get space. There's not a lot of investors in Seattle. It's not like the Bay Area. There's a whole street with you go from one office to another and it's all VCs. But there's good individual angel investors' wealth that I was able to access early on, and that was helpful. But it's not straightforward. It's not like the same. It's not like New York or the Bay Area. But I think successful entrepreneurs who are committed to the region, which we are committed to the region at Athira, will get to a point to pay back and attract funds and attract technologies into the area. I want to highlight in COVID, it's easier to raise money because investors, they see the Seattle company the same way that they see the New York company. So that geographical mind barrier, COVID helped remove. So hopefully that will reduce the challenge for raising funds in Seattle and Washington.
Interesting. Yeah, and we will definitely miss you around here if we call. So follow up to the law firm question. Which law firm did you go with at the beginning? Seed
IP is a local, really good IP group. There's another group, they have a difficult name. That's why I wanted to follow up later. They're actually a really good and very cost-effective group. I would say Summit Law for corporate law. Summit Law is amazing. Like if you want good lawyers that are not like really good and nice and care about entrepreneurs, Summit Law, because it's a group that founders basically. It's a bunch of lawyer entrepreneurs that started a group. It's a small group, so they really have a lot of I don't know, they empathize with entrepreneurs and they're amazing. They were very helpful for us. And when things doesn't work out, Mark Worthington, he still works with the company. We're working with other law firms, but Mark was really amazing sometimes to say, okay, like I understand, let's just waive this. And and gave me a lot of his time without feeling that I'm on a timer or clock, because he's thoughtful in this way. But there's a lot of other talent. Anyone you work with in Summit, it's the same thing.
Yeah, like you were saying, Seattle startup ecosystem is very supportive. It's almost got like this small town community feel to it. So that is a cool part or aspect to it. I know we're in a time crunch today, so just a couple more questions and then we'll get you going. Can you talk about your QMS regulatory document repository? What program are you using?
Mm-hmm. We're using a group publishing group, so we're not keeping it internal. So we currently we're using MMS. They're supporting our data management and regulatory submission. It's also a really good group. It's a smaller group. One thing that you need to appreciate, you don't have to have everything in-house. As a early stage company, there's the virtual model. We even at this point, when we're taking a lot of things inside this component, we're still keeping it outside because it's more efficient. And we've been using MMS, a group in Boston, to help with all of these components.
Great, and we'll get you out on this question. Just going back to the work-life balance, or finding team members that will adapt their lifestyle to your vision and goal. How do you manage or prevent employee burnout given the lack of work-life balance?
It's not lack of work-life balance. It's you need to find people who are excited about the work and they don't feel it's work, right? And appreciation, like make sure that you see what people are doing for the company, for you, and being an example. Sometimes you need to be thoughtful. Okay, and that's the difference. Early on, you sometimes take on projects because even when you need someone else to do it, and when they see you, they actually know that you're going to be there for them when they need help. People go through personal aspects. If you're thoughtful and people feel comfortable to come to you to talk about personal events that is outside of their control, and at that point in their life they need extra flexibility, and you give that to them and other team members see that, it's just amazing how much these thoughtful, and it's just, the team is your family basically. So the same way that you treat your family, if you like them, basically you want to treat your team. So it's just being thoughtful, seeing them, making them feel heard. The other thing is, as an entrepreneur, you're probably very opinionated. Make sure that you step back and you allow other voices to start to influence and shape your company. And when people feel the ownership and that their voice is being heard, the ownership increase, and then they're super excited about the work that they're doing, that you don't have to go to them and say, I need you to get this done by then. It's just natural. I was talking to my CFO yesterday. It's like, what's really nice about Athira is you never get any resistance from the team around when we need things to get done, when, how we want things to get done, because it's gonna, and we have that reinforced. It's through appreciation, allowing people for their voices to be heard, also giving them career growth opportunity is very important, and setting up the example for them is very important. But that, of course, the first people you hire will be your ambassadors. So make sure that whatever culture you want to have, whatever vision you have for your company, the early hires, think about them as well as ambassadors that will have the support you to have that continuity in the outcome of your culture and company flavor, I guess.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Leen. This was a joy. Again, thank you everyone for putting up with the beginning part. Hopefully we caught on to it quickly enough. Thank you so much for your time. As a reminder, if you can fill out the survey, it would be very helpful for us. And next Friday at noon, we will be hearing from Jillian Mosig, General Manager of the Masters Fund, presenting on the capitalization stack, getting the right funding in place for growth. Sign up for that, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.